Oh, there I have clicked the broadcast button and we're live. So, there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. So, I'm here with Becky and Max. So, just to give you like a quick tutorial, if you're new to Zoom, that we have the chat button. If you can see that on your screen right now, you just hover your mouse anywhere in the screen and you can see the chat button at the bottom part of your screen. You can click on that and let us know where you're from. Tell us what you're looking forward from this session. And also we have the raise hand button. So at the almost the end part of the session, you can raise your hand if you want to speak by the Q&A part. And also we have the Q&A button, which you can use if you have specific questions for us or Max. And we can answer it through live or through the chat, through the Q&A box as well. And also we have polls coming up. So this will be the first one. This is just to get to know you. If what type of investor are you, or how long have you been investing? So you just have to answer that poll, and once you have answered all the polls in our session, you can be eligible to join the raffle. And from that raffle will be drawing them every week, and we will announce it to our social media platforms every Monday. So all you have to do within this session is to answer those polls, and your names can be added to the list, which is eligible for the raffle. And also this event is brought to you by Real Estate IQ, the #1 in deal finding, providing you with more than 45,000 leads every month. So we have a testimonial from one of our clients from our live events. So there.
We got a foreclosure deal in November, and that one's already sold. We made money on that. And then we just got a probate last month, and we're waiting to close because we're trying to get her a house.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic, Mary, that you already got 2 deals from Real Estate IQ. Wow, that's great. Tell us about the foreclosure deal.
It was in North Richland Hills, and we got it just a few days before the auction, and it was subject to kind of a mess. And then there was not much rehab, about a month, and then we put it on the market and sold it in 4 days.
Oh, wow.
It was the right price because it was 180,000 ARV, so it sold real fast.
Wow, that's very good, Mary. Congratulations for that deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. I mean, it was a bad situation because the husband was on the note, but he lost the house in the divorce, so it was kind of a nasty deal, unpleasant.
Right.
But actually just got my escrow money that I had to split with him. He was a little bit ticked off, but he
Okay.
put the escrow money with me.
Oh, okay.
That was something. And then the probate deal is in Arlington, where I live, which is great.
Okay, so it's close to
and it's
you.
in a great neighborhood just south of I-30 at Builder Road, and a very high appreciating area. And the woman's we just need to find her a place to live, and then she'll move and we'll take that house.
Okay. Are you planning to sell it? Flip it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess we'll flip it. It would really make a great rental, but we're just not there yet. So.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and also we can provide you a 45-minute one-on-one deal finding training, and just to notify you guys that it's free. So all you have to do is answer this poll that's coming up right now. There, so all you have to do is answer the second question, which is, would you like to have a live demo of our services? Just select yes if you want to have a 45-minute one-on-one deal finding training, which we can provide you tips and like a run through, a training on how you can utilize our tools, how you can use the services of Real Estate IQ, and we will definitely schedule you for a one-on-one training. So our speaker for today, Becky, would you like to introduce Max?
Sure. Thank you, Jeff. We have today Mr. Max Chera, and he's from Express Capital Financing. They're nationwide direct lenders for bridge loans, hard money financing, and commercial mortgages. So welcome, Max. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to let you take it away from here.
Thank you so much for having us, Becky. It's always a pleasure to be here. So I will go ahead and start sharing this. Give me 1 second. Whoa. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. Okay, so yes, so today we're going to go over REO properties, understand what that means. I'm sure a lot of you who are getting into real estate are hearing this term a lot and trying to understand exactly how it works. So I'm going to go into a little bit. First off, anyone who's been with us last week or the week before that, they have met my father, Martin Chera. We're a family-based lending firm here in Brooklyn. We do lend nationwide, like Becky said. So anywhere, you know, from New York to California to Texas, you name it, we have a presence there, and probably have some resources as well that we could help assist you with on your deals. So my name is Max Chera, Martin's son. We've been in business for the last 8 years, helping investors. I started out my career in the real estate sales, so I was boots on the ground. After a couple of years of doing that and kind of really learning what was going on in the markets and how to understand them, we started investing and getting really deep into it. And then once we started investing and seeing, you know, how we were able to help ourselves, we started lending to help other investors just like ourselves create wealth and a nice portfolio that'll take them a long way. So that's pretty much what we're here to do. We're here to educate and teach. And if there's any questions you guys have, please definitely do raise your hands or put in the chat box. I'd love to hear and answer them for you. So we're going to get into now the REO properties and try to understand what they are. You know, everyone talks about how good they are and how, you know, obviously real estate investors are known for finding the best deals possible because our profits are all in our purchase, not in our sell. So we have to find the best deals possible. And a lot of people turn to REO properties. So let's understand first what they are. So the acronym REO stands for real estate owned, right? So it could technically be even your own REO. It's your own real estate owned properties. But here we're talking about a bank. Now, an REO is a foreclosed property that the lender has repossessed for non-payment on the mortgage, right? So not all foreclosures are REOs and not all REOs are foreclosures, but they usually do intertwine with each other, okay? Now, not all foreclosure properties go straight to the bank. So they first usually try to utilize a auction to sell these properties before they have to put it on their books. And we're going to go deep into that and understand why a lender does not want to own the property and why it's in his best interest to sell it and why it becomes a good deal for us as the real estate investor. So how do they work? So every single state has their own foreclosure laws and how they go about it and how they work. But generally speaking, the way it works is a homeowner will fall behind on their payments, usually between 60 to 90 days. And a lender will then file a list pendant on the property, or in some states, they don't call it that. It's a notice of default. And this you can find, if you're in a state where they do list pendants, you could find that on Zillow or many other different places, Property Shark. They will list them and it is public record. So you will know what, in a sense, may come up. But don't forget also, not all list pendants go straight to REO or anything like that because they do have the opportunity to make their mortgage current. So now we're going to go into the properties then offer it for sale at the public auction, which we mentioned. Now, if it does sell at the auction, the winner just becomes the owner of the property. And if there's no winning bid on the property, either it doesn't meet the reserves or they just don't get bids on the property, that is when the bank will then take over the property and add it onto their books. Now, the bank is usually going to be looking to resell that property as quickly as possible. And the number one way that they usually go about that is with a local realtor who will then list it onto the MLS. And there are other ways, and we will go into that a little bit more, okay? So now, why are REOs such a good source of deals? Usually when you're dealing with an REO property, and we're gonna go more into it, the property is usually in despair. It's not repaired right now. They weren't able to upkeep the property, and it's usually in shambles. There's usually a second mortgage on the property, and that's gonna be a fun one to understand why that's a benefit to us. And the third one is banks are not in the real estate business. They're here to create loans. They make their money off of lending money, and we're going to see why it affects them and how it affects them. So now, when a homeowner can no longer make payments on their house, it's likely that they can't afford to upkeep the house. Like we said, they can't do the grass, they can't fix the boiler when it goes out, they can't keep up with the plumbing, and it's usually in a bad condition. So you usually want to get a good idea of what you're working with when you are buying an REO. Sometimes you may be able to get into the property, sometimes you may not be able to get into the property. So it's important to understand what could the worst possible condition it could be in, and kind of coming up with a scope for that. And if you are able to get into the property, just understanding what needs to be fixed so that you are able to get it current. Now, are there REOs that sell that are not always in shambles? Sometimes they are in good condition. Absolutely, it does happen. Are they rare? Yes, they are rare, but they do exist. Now, usually the bank can't demand the full value of their property because it needs repair. And there's risk involved for whoever buys that, because they're buying the property with a deficit in order to figure out where the future profits are. And that's why usually you're going to get a much better deal when it comes to an REO property. So now, many home buyers, we talked about the second mortgage, right? So now, why is that in a benefit for us for them to have a second mortgage? So now, many home buyers usually have a first and second mortgage, whether it's a HELOC or they just took out a second loan against their property, they needed to. So when the lender who is holding the first mortgage actually goes through with the foreclosure process, and if he sells that property at an auction, or he ends up putting it on their books and selling it off, it actually wipes out the second mortgage. The only thing that it does not wipe out is property tax liens. The government always comes first, and they will get paid. So it is important to also speak with your title company and verify, make sure and see what liens are on the property to know what you may or may not be liable for when you do own that property. So that's why a second mortgage is usually a good thing for us as investors to know that it's there, because again, most of the time, if the investor does have more equity in the property than he has that he's borrowing on, they could always sell it and get out of the deal without hurting themselves and hurting the lender. So most of the time, they will have more money owed than they can sell the property for. Now, we spoke about how banks are not in the real estate business, they're in the lending business. So what does that do for us? So most of the time, lenders need to get their capital out. They want as much capital back in their pockets as possible so they could send it out as quickly as possible. But when they have properties that their money is tied into, now not only is the money that they have in the property tied up, but also their reserves are tied up, because most of the feds are going to require them to have a minimum reserves for all their loans that they have out there. So they are going to have to make sure that they're not tying up their money that they have in the deal, plus their reserves. So they want to get this money liquidated as quickly as possible. So why does that benefit us? Well, the same thing as any other motivated seller. A seller that is motivated to get their cash out as quickly as possible is going to take less money than someone who has all the time in the world to get the best deal possible. So here, our lenders, our banks don't want to hold on to it, and they're going to let it go as fast as possible for whatever makes sense for them. Now, don't forget, their loan amount is usually more than what they have on than the property is worth. So in the beginning, they may sometimes still be above where they need to be, and we'll go into that. So now you've found a REO property, or you've seen one now, and you want to go ahead and make an offer on one. So what is the process for that? How do you go about it? Now, not all REO properties are sold through your local realtor. Sometimes they use other processes. So we're going to go into first a little bit of how we could find them, and then we'll go into the offers. So the first option is through your local broker. You may want to find someone who specializes in REOs, understands them, knows how to explain to you the process, what's going to happen next, in order so that you could really fully understand it and make sure that you are secure throughout your entire deal. The second way that they may go ahead and sell the property is through a third-party auction company. You may see them on auction.com, Hubzu, or many of these other online sites, and even sometimes in the local court system. So keep your eye out for auction properties. They're usually going to be REOs. And the third way that they may go ahead and do it is to a hedge fund or financial institution. And they're usually going to do that when they have a portfolio or a large amount of deals that they want to unload and have a financial institution that's looking to buy those. So your best bets are usually going to be from usually option A and option B, which is the broker and your auction companies. So now, every lender is going to also have a different method for selling their real estate assets. Most don't sell directly to an individual home buyer, though it's not unheard of. A lot of the times they still do want to try to sell it to your family people that are just looking to live in the home. And usually sometimes even banks will have a rule where they want it to first be advertised to your end user buyers before it can go to an investor. And that's usually more likely to happen though with your small and local banks other than the large mega banks. The mega banks usually want to get it out as quickly as possible. Now, banks also have asset managers who coordinate the sale with the local agent, which is why it's important to know who your pro in the area is. So since most of them are sold through agents, the one way that you could go about finding who is the top agent in the area that is selling REO properties is you can go to any site such as Zillow, Realtor.com, and zone in on your area and see which properties. You could usually search them by foreclosures, and you will see who the #1 agent that you're seeing continuously over and over again is. And that person is usually the person that the banks are speaking with to offload these properties, and usually the person you want to take out for lunch, get to know, and make a good relationship with. But now do remember that this person, this agent, does not work for you. They work for the seller, which is in this case the bank. So don't expect for them to give you inside information or anything like that, but obviously they will give you tell you about their deals because they're looking to sell it. So we have a common goal here, which is to get rid of the property. So as I said a little bit earlier, you go ahead, you go on Zillow, scan the area, see who's there, find your local person. And keep in mind now, one other thing is now once you meet this realtor and you're ready to speak with him and you want to find out what deals he has for you, he's going to ask you for a proof of funds before he even considers taking an offer from you and potentially even speaking to you. So that's important. That's important to speak with us here at Express Capital Financing. We could go through the deal with you, explain to you the process in further detail, make sure you understand exactly what you're getting into and what your risks and what your rewards are, and give you the proof of funds you need to go ahead and make that next offer. Now, one question I get often is, can you negotiate with the bank, right? The bank that wants to sell it, so obviously I could probably negotiate with them. So now it's important to understand that, number one, let's go to the next one. Number one, these properties are sold as is. Now, I've noticed in my experience, sometimes the banks will negotiate a little bit when it comes to obviously pricing. They're not expecting everyone to just say, oh, here's the list price and take it. And sometimes they will have a reserve set up already with the agent. So you could ask them, hey, did they already negotiate the sales price on this property? Or do I need to submit an offer and start the negotiations? Now, the one thing that they will negotiate on that I have noticed is that if someone is buying a property through conventional financing, and they do not have a refrigerator in there or a range, the bank will usually work that out because they know that they will not be able to get financing without it. So that's good information to know. Most of the time that doesn't apply to us though, because we are investors and we are buying usually with hard money or cash and other creative financing tools. Now, closing costs are something that a lot of people are probably used to negotiating with their sellers and getting them to cover for them. Unfortunately here, the bank is usually not going to cover this for us. So we just have to make sure that we're budgeting for this and understanding that, hey, we're gonna have to pay closing costs and put that into our offer. So make sure before you go into it, hey, I'm gonna have to cover the closing costs. Does this number work for me? And if it doesn't, lower your offer and start over. Now we have the question of where can I find a list, right? Everyone wants to find a list of properties. Now there's a few ways that you could do that. Number one, as you mentioned, is going to your local realtor. Number two is digging deep to find more. Now a few different sources you can use is there's HUD.gov, which does have some properties from some banks that they do put up there. There are other sites, can't remember the name of it right now, but there's one more. I will make sure to share it with everybody that does also post their REOs. So you could always do some searching online. Google has always been my best friend. Don't be afraid to use it. Just type in REO properties, and you never know. You might find a new site or a new MLS that you never saw that will show up and show you some more properties. Now, here at Express Capital Financing, we offer many different programs for financing your real estate deals, whether it's a hard money, commercial mortgages, or bridge loan. Hard money is usually for your properties that are needing rehab, or you need to close quickly. There's a time of essence, and you're not going to be able to go ahead and get a conventional mortgage or a rental mortgage in time to close on the property. So that's where we'll come in. We'll give rehab funds for it. We go up to 85% of the purchase, 100% of the rehab. You can purchase REO properties with us with our hard money program. One question I get often is, hey, I have an REO property, but it's occupied and I'm gonna have to probably evict the tenants, but I can't get in right now. How do I close on the property without being able to get an appraisal or even get into the property for an inspection and know what my costs are? And the answer to that would be very simple. Number one, expect the worst. Budget for the worst possible scenario. Imagine you have to strip that home to the studs and use that as your budget. If anything comes back better, well, that's gravy on top for us. Secondly, for the appraisal, the way we get around that is we'll do a drive-by appraisal. So we'll ask for pictures of the inside, which we could usually find online, or the seller or someone or the tenant will share it with us, and we'll have an appraiser drive by the property and use that and just take pictures from the other comparisons and figure out what the ARV would be and what the current value of the property is. So we can work with that, whether it's occupied or vacant, we will find a way to make it work. When it comes to commercial mortgages, these are your rental loans, whether you have a property that you are fixing, if you bought an REO property and now you want to keep it for yourself because the rent in the areas are great and you don't want to lose that opportunity. So we can help you refinance your hard money loan into something more manageable, a lower rate, a longer period of time, 30-year amortizations, where you'll be able to cash flow nicely, hold on to the property, and build your portfolio. We also offer bridge loans. So if you have properties, let's say that you have that you're looking to cash out on for a short period of time, or you have an additional strategy that just needs money for a year or two, we do entertain those as well. So bring them up to us. We'd be happy to talk. Now, when it comes to finding deals, another way you can find besides REOs, we also have findthatflipdeal.com, which is a free MLS website for real estate properties. It used to be first only wholesalers were on there putting up their deals. Now we have about 35,000 borrowers looking at it every day to see what deals they can find for themselves. And so if you have a deal, you're wholesaling or you're a realtor and you think it would be a good investment property, feel free to put it up there. Just bear in mind that we don't really have end user buyers looking there. It's more for the investors. We also have more upcoming webinars where we're going to talk more about finding deals, how to get into real estate investing, whether you're a newbie or you're experienced and you want to learn more and want to know if you have what it takes to get involved. Feel free to join us here at meetup.com, where we have our Tri-State Real Estate Investors Club, where you can see all of our webinars coming up, including next week, where we have our third session with our topic to come. If you have any questions where you want to get in touch with us and talk further, feel free to reach us. Our number is 718-285-0806. And our email address is info@expresscapitalfinancing.com. If you feel free to check out our website as well, we have all of our current programs and up-to-date information there and guidelines. We make sure to update it every single day. So everything you see there will be current and accurate.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Max. Before we get to the question and answer portion, I'm going to take over for a minute. Just give you a quick run through of exactly what Real Estate IQ does. We are #1 in deal finding. We have over 45,000 leads every month. So we have a deal analysis suite where you can run your own comps. We have a repair estimator and a deal analyzer calculator in that as well. This is currently only in Texas, but we are expanding it to Florida and Georgia within the next couple of months. And then we plan to expand from there to New York and the tri-state area, as well as other states, so it won't be long. Our deal finding suite gives you off-market leads, and our county data finder, let's see, go to there we go. Here are the 10 lists of off-market leads that we have, so all these motivated and distressed sellers. We currently have this we have off-market leads in Texas, Florida, and Georgia. So, and as I said, we will be expanding from there. So if you're not in one of these places, make sure you keep in touch with us. Also in our deal finding suite, we have the county data finder, where you can pull a list from the tax records of absentee owners, small commercial properties, whatever you're looking for. And MLS Deal Finder lets you get a notification whenever a discounted deal on the MLS that meets your criteria comes on the market. So we have all of that. We have great customer service with a knowledge vault with a lot of training videos and frequently asked questions and stuff like that as well. So if you'd like to know more and did not say yes to the demo before, you can just put demo please in the chat and somebody will contact you and set that up free with no obligation at your convenience. All right, we also have some freebies just for joining today. We have some heat maps that kind of show you where the deals are. And then we have our real estate deal of the day, which is a live deal on the MLS in Texas that you can make an offer on, or it's a great educational tool about what's going on in the market. So you can just say yes to the poll for that. We also have our community. So there is a link to their community group, which Jeff will also put in the chat for you. But I'm going to go ahead and go to this real quick. Our Real Estate IQ community is a new social media site, kind of a Facebook just for investors. And so this is really national. It's not set to any particular area. And so if you go to the community right here where you see me, you will see sign up. This is on our website, realestateiq.co. Sign up. And then if you go to the community and groups, you can find Max and Marty's group right here, which is a hard money guide for real estate investors. And so you can post questions for them there, have discussions, whatever you like. So please join our community, join their group, check out the other groups that we have under groups. You might find something else that interests you. Our marketplace is where you can find other things that you might need for your real estate business, like a mentor, title companies, contractors, things like that. Or if you're interested in passive investment for notes. And then events page is where you can sign up for our upcoming webinars. So we're really excited about our new community, expected to grow to be a great place where people can make relationships. We can't network for real right now in person, so we have to do it online. So marketplace place to do that, to find deals. We hope pretty soon it'll come to people posting and doing deals on the marketplace. So please join it, keep checking back, and soon we'll be joining your group. All right, so now I lost my place. Sorry about that. There we go. All right, so at this time, we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions and answers. So there's a couple, Max, that you've probably already seen. You can also feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to ask your question verbally instead of typing it.
So I saw one come in the chat. Where'd it go? There it is, from Josina. How much less are REOs than a typical foreclosure? Are a lot of investors using this method? So the answer to your first question, it's kind of subjective. Every deal is going to have a different amount, a loan amount that they have that the bank is trying to recuperate. And every deal is going to have a different value that they could actually get for the property. So to answer that question exactly, there is no answer. It really would depend. Each deal is a little bit different. But you're generally going to get a better deal working with an REO because the banks are more incentivized to get rid of the property as quick as possible. Now, are a lot of investors using this method? That's one of the most interesting things about real estate is that everybody has a little bit of their own niche. Everyone finds their own deals in their own way. Now, REOs is a specific niche. So if that is what you're looking to do, then yes, most investors that do it do only REO properties. So it really depends a little bit on yourself, what you're looking to do. Are you looking to build equity? Are you looking to just build a portfolio? Or are you looking to just make a quick buck on a flip? And that's really going to tell you a lot. But yes, you will get a good purchase price out of it. We got a question. Do you want me to read the questions, Becky?
You can just read them and go them, or I can read them to you.
No,
Whichever.
I'll do it. I got it.
All right.
So we got another one from PJ Smith. Does Express Capital have contacts in the banks? We have contacts with banks. Do we have contacts that probably have REOs is what you're asking for? I do have a few people I may be able to introduce you to, so feel free to let me know where you're located, and I'd do my best to put you in touch with any contacts that I do have. Where'd the next one go? From Priscilla, are you going to send out a link for this recording? Yes, we will be sending out a link for this recording, so you will receive it, I believe, by tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, Becky?
Yes, that is correct.
Awesome. We got a question from Dana. Can you please explain again on the second mortgage being erased once we buy an REO? Absolutely. So when you're buying an REO, if the seller, let's just say, has a first mortgage from Chase Bank that they used to purchase the property for $100,000, and they ended up, I don't know, a couple of years later, they ran into some trouble and they ended up borrowing another $50,000 from another bank, and now they owe $150,000. When the lender that has the $100,000 mortgage takes over the property and adds it to their books, it erases the second mortgage, and the first position lender gets the property free and clear. Now, if the seller has a tax lien on the property, that does not disappear with this. So that you do want to make sure you are talking to your title company and making sure that you are that you're not getting into anything with a big payment that you're going to be responsible for. Dana also asked another really good question that I can't believe I didn't have in my presentation. Are REO deals assignable? And the answer is no. They don't want you going ahead and selling their property off to somebody else without even closing on it, which is why they are going to be very adamant that you have a pre-approval letter and know that you are going to be the one purchasing it. So if you are going to do that, you are going to have to hold the property. I believe it's 30 or 60 days. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. But you will have to hold it for some time before you could sell it off again. So that's why these are really good for flips, because usually you're not going to be doing anything for the first 30 days anyways, because you have to do your repairs. Tom is asking, if I get a hard money loan with you and refi for a 30-year, is the LTV requirement still 25% of the ARV? So the LTV is not 25%. So maybe I'm misreading it or misunderstanding. But pretty much when you're refinancing out, you have two options. You can go to someone like myself who does, we call it non-QM mortgage, which just means it's not conforming. It's not your conventional type of loan. We're not underwriting you, the borrower, and your income and your tax returns. We're looking more at the property itself. We do have a seasoning requirement where we would want the property to be held for a year before we're going to use the appraised value. So what we'll use in the first year is your purchase price plus any money that you put into the property as your value. And now current values, leverage on the 30-year mortgages is about 65%. So if you'll roughly have to have about 65% of your purchase plus 35% of your purchase plus rehab numbers in the deal. Now, if you waited the full year, which it does make sense a lot of times, especially if you're renting out the property while you're in hard money and you're still cash flowing something, then you could use the appraised value and you would get 65% of that value. So I hope that answers your question, Tom. And if you have any follow-ups, please feel free to put it in the chat box. Josiana is asking, can you do creative financing with REOs like sub-2, or is this you need to have all the money? When you're buying an REO, you do need to have all the money. Don't expect to do anything crazy, especially because you're only going to have 2 weeks to 30 days to close on it, depending on your contract. And you're most likely not going to have enough time to do something like that. Okay, let me see here. Any host deals. So Angelina is asking, how do I find REO deals? So the three methods that I mentioned in the presentation was, number one, you could go to your local real estate agent that does specialize in REOs. The way to find them is to do some research on realtor.com, Zillow, see what's going on in the area, see what foreclosures are on the market, and see who the common realtor is. And I would reach out to them, explain to them what you're looking to do, tell them a little bit about yourself. If you have a pre-approval, I would highly recommend you have that in advance so that you could share it with them and they know you're serious. Josina is asking, can you submit a scope of work with higher cost to negotiate a lower bank price? So when you are doing your first negotiation with the bank and you're submitting your offer, you technically can submit any offer you'd like. It's just like any other sale. They have the option to accept it or decline it. Now, the way banks usually look at this is very similar to your average seller. When a realtor speaks to a seller and explains to them what the process of going on the market is, they're usually going to explain to them that in the first 30 days is your most likely opportunity to get your offer. In the next 60 days, you're most likely not to get that offer anymore and probably going to go a little bit lower, and 90 days, so on and so forth. The longer you're on the market, the lower you're going to get. It's pretty much science in this industry. And banks follow that same exact formula. So after 60 days, if they haven't sold it, they're going to be a little bit more likely to take a lower offer. After 90 days, they're going to be even more motivated. So follow up with those properties. Again, it's just like anything else. You're going to submit a lot of offers and you're going to get the ones that come back to you. So submit your offer, whatever makes sense. If it comes back, beautiful, you got it. Otherwise, keep putting more offers in and you will find a good deal. Brett is asking, it seems, at least in Central Texas, that if a property doesn't get bought at an auction, it's because the bank had too high of a minimum to make it a good deal. Then as REO banks still look to get that minimum. How long does it take before a bank typically starts to lower their price? So like I just said, Brad, it usually goes in about a 30-day increment. So the first 30 days, they're going to be pretty set on their price or a little bit negotiable. You're probably not going to get away with a lowball offer. After 60 days, they start, being a little bit more lenient, 90 days, a little bit more. And after holding it for 120 plus, they're going to be pretty motivated to move that property. But yes, usually they are going to be asking that same price. That is pretty common, actually. Just because they didn't get it at the auction, they're assuming that when they get it out there and expose it to the market, to more people, that they may be able to get it. PJ is asking, what if the loan is current, but there is no tax lien on the property? Can you acquire the property at a tax auction? If so, what happens to the first mortgage? That I don't know if I really know the answer to that, to be very honest with you. I would need to get back to you on that, PJ. You could reach out to me and I'll reach out to my contact and he will let me know. By the way, guys, just so you know, I don't know all the answers. The good thing is that I can reach out to many different people. I have many different sources, and I'd love to be that same source for you for whenever you have questions. So please, whether it's tonight or tomorrow when it comes into your head, pops up, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to help you understand what you're doing in real estate so that you could get to the next level and build that wealth in real estate. So Dana has another question. If the first position bank takes position on a loan and the second mortgage is erased, is the first position bank pricing it based on the amount that they only need to recuperate, or are they also including in the second mortgage? And that's also another really good question. Usually they're going to be only incorporating it for themselves because they're usually the other bank is usually just going to write that off as a loss and take the tax savings. So they're only trying to recoup their own money. If anyone has any other questions, I'd love to answer them.
So Max, do you find, we've submitted a couple offers on REOs and the banks were pretty slow in getting back to us. Do you find that's often the case, or does it depend on other factors?
It a little bit does. That's a pretty common complaint that I do hear. Sometimes the banks are a little bit slow to get back. They are sometimes banks have a lot more REOs than others. And also, it really depends on the bank that you're working with. If you're working with a small, credit union that has, you know, 1 or 2 properties that they really need to unload, you're going to get a quick answer from them, and they're going to be pretty responsive, making sure that they're getting everything done. When you're working with some of the bigger banks, and I'm sure it's probably Wells Fargo that probably took a really long time getting back to you, well, then yes, you're gonna, you know, there could be some delays. You got another one coming from Dana. You got a lot of good questions. Are REO properties usually viewable or assume max rental cost? How about info on oil tanks? So when you are doing an REO property, it is important to communicate with the agent. He will let you know if it's accessible or not. I don't know. I would say more often than not, they're not accessible. I'd say it's pretty 50-50 in my experience. I'm sure some people may have a little bit of a different experience. It's pretty based off of who's living in the property at the time and if they can get into it or not. And as far as the info on the oil tanks, that again is something that you should speak with the seller about. They usually will, depending on where you are, they're not required to fill out. For example, Texas has a seller's disclosure. One of the people that do not need to fill out a seller's disclosure is a bank that's selling an REO property, because they may not know about it. So you will have to do your own due diligence. I highly recommend getting an inspector when you do have an REO property, letting them tell you exactly what they find and what they see in the property.
Josina's asking, how does a realtor get REOs? Can any realtor have access to this?
Yeah, so that's another great question. When it comes to realtors getting REO properties, technically speaking, any realtor has the ability to list an REO property. All they need is a license and the ability to post it on the MLS. Now, you do have to make relationships with these fund managers and banks that are working with these REOs. So it's going to be some work. Some of these people put a lot of time in to become the REO specialists in their area. But definitely start reaching out to different banks, finding out who the asset manager is and who handles the REOs and how you can get in touch with them. And they may give you a deal here and there just to test you out. And if you do well, you know, you might see a lot more to come.
Dinah has another one in the chat, or
Oh,
in the Q&A.
yeah, I
When
see it in the-
on an REO, what documents do they usually require? And what do you recommend to make you a better candidate in the bank's view?
The bank really just wants to know that you have the ability to close. That's all they care about. So they're going to ask you for a proof of funds. And in addition to that, what makes you a better candidate? Well, the way you submit your offer is also going to show the bank how serious you are, how likely it is to close, the same way any other seller is going to look at a contract. So if you have a mortgage contingency in there, they're most likely never going to accept that. So keep it pretty straightforward as possible. Show them that you're looking to close on this one way or another. And that's usually what the bank is going to want to see. Now, don't forget, as I kind of mentioned earlier, also sometimes the realtor is going to have already negotiated the sale of the property with the bank, and they're going to have a price because they're going to ask the realtor for comps and try to figure out what the value is. And if they already got to that stage, you may already be past that and and the realtor may know exactly what will work and what won't work. Dana is asking if buying an REO in an LLC is possible. The answer is yes. Most banks will usually want to wait 30 days first because they want to offer it to the end user buyers. And then after that, they will allow investors to purchase it.
You know, Max, that actually brought up another question. I had another lender that was suggesting not to buy a property if you're going to hold on to it in your LLC because you can get better financing as an individual, better rates and terms versus a commercial loan to an LLC.
Sure. And that is a good point. Now, like everything else in real estate, every single person is a little bit different. You know, I myself may invest differently than you, and you may invest differently than me. It doesn't make either of us right or wrong. Now, understanding the benefits for each personal situation is where this is going to help us decide, well, what's best for me? So number one, when you're investing in an LLC, you have a lot more protection. So if you are planning on holding more than one property, and you don't want to you want to make sure that, hey, if something happens to one, I'm not losing the other. You don't want everything to fall on you and all your risk. I would highly recommend having an LLC. Now, when it comes to the financing, well, you're absolutely right. You may be able to get a better deal having in your personal name. But now if we take it a little bit further, banks that are going to offer you those rates and deals are only going to want to see 5 to 10 properties on their books. They're not going to want to let you have 20, 30, 40, 100 properties with them. So if you have big goals and you intend to get big, it might not be a sustainable option. Now, is it an option for the time being? Absolutely. And I'm a pure believer in save money where you could save money. It'll definitely help you cash flow. It'll help you get to the next deal and do what's best. And if you're ever not sure, reach out to me. I'm probably one of the worst salespeople in the world. I will tell people to go other places when it makes more sense for them, because I'm a believer that you're going to return to me because I'm giving you the most honest information and I'm trying to help you grow. So absolutely, it is. There are times where I may advise that, and there are times where I would advise against it. It really depends on where you're looking to be and where you are today.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. We have a
My
few
pleasure.
others.
So we got one from Kathiana, I think. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. My question is, how do I get a proof of funds if you don't have the amount on your bank account? So proof of funds, in essence, means that you have money in the bank. A pre-approval letter will also suffice for this, which is me or a bank saying that we would allow you to borrow X amount of dollars from us. And we have already looked into your finances or you as a person and agreed to lend to you. So if you don't have that money in your bank account, reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk more about it, understand where you are today. We'll ask for, to find out a little bit how liquid you are, how much money you're looking to put towards the deal, where your current credit score is. Right now, that's a little bit important, even with hard money, as hard money got a little bit tighter over the last couple of months due to COVID-19 and where the market is today. So let me know a little bit about your finances, your credit, and I will take you through a full conversation where I'll get to know you, understand your goals, and make sure that we are the best fit for you. And if we are, I will then go ahead and send you over a pre-approval letter, which you can submit to your bank or realtor or sellers or wherever you're finding your deals from. And Becky, I have a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
Does Real Estate IQ offer any ways of finding REO properties or maybe listing the foreclosures in the area?
We do. Right now, you can find those if you do a search for discounted properties on the MLS. With our system, you can tell which ones are foreclosures, which are the REOs, and which ones were not in foreclosure.
So that's another way you guys can go ahead and find more deals. I saw another few questions come in. Let me see. So Dana's asking now, if there is a tax lien, do we settle before the purchase or when? Most of the time you will not be able to settle it beforehand. If you're most likely going to have to do it after. So assume that you're going to pay the full amount and whatever you end up settling for is what you make extra. So always, I'm a true believer of plan for the worst and hope for the best. What happens to the other liens? Most other liens are going to disappear unless the only other lien that really takes precedence is a tax lien.
Yeah, they just disappear, and whoever was holding the lien is out their money.
Correct, exactly.
Josina also said, can a realtor buy an REO and fix and flip it?
A realtor can buy an REO and fix and flip it, absolutely. There's nothing holding you back.
And then Tom was also asking about our companies. So Real Estate IQ, we're data analytics, lead generation company, and Express Capital is a lender, and we're just partnering together on this webinar. to bring you the information.
That's one of my favorite things about real estate. You know, it's everyone in the industry is a full circle deal. You know, you're always working with each person, whether it's attorney, a title company, lead providers. You're always looking to make these relationships, and they go far. So, you know, anyone else who's looking to make relationships, that's exactly what we're here for. And just reach out.
Absolutely, and that's why we are trying to encourage networking in whatever form is possible right now, because partnerships are what are going to advance your business. One of the most successful investors that I know in Houston doesn't even find most of his own deals. He's just so well known from his networking and everything that people bring the deals to him. When, you know, so he gets a lot of deals without having to do the work to do it, and you just partner with them on it. You know, you split the profits and you both win. So
that's amazing. That's
yeah.
actually one of my favorite theories. I never like to do a deal alone. I always like to have a partner involved. Most people would actually disagree with that, but I personally feel like, well, if I could leverage my money, I can leverage everything. But the one thing I really can't leverage without using somebody else is my time. I'm only able to do so much. So the more partners you have, honestly, the better off you'll be. At least that's my theory.
And for partners like Max who have the money but not the time, there are beginning investors who have the time to get the deals but not the money to get them done. So it's a great match.
Absolutely. And we have lots of people always reaching out looking to be matched up with other investors. So if you are a new investor with money and don't have the experience, or you have the experience and not the money, or vice versa, in any which way, shape, or form, you know, reach out and I'll do my best to, you know, to introduce you to some people who may be a good fit. So Kathina is asking, oh, sorry.
I would say that's something that our new community is going to do as well, is just help people find those parts that you need. Go ahead.
That's fantastic. Well, Kathina is asking if we help with cash buyers. Not if you could please elaborate a little bit on that as to what you would be needing help with, because I probably wouldn't be giving you the financing if you're buying it with cash. So if you could just elaborate on where you would be needing help, and I would be glad to tell you.
So what Max does is help you become a cash buyer.
Exactly.
Dinah's asking how we're different from PropStream. So PropStream is a national company that does some of the same things that we do. I've looked at them a little bit. I haven't used them extensively or anything, obviously. But I do know that we have more types of off-market leads and that our data is always fresh. And I don't know if this is particular with PropStream, but one of the most common complaints that I hear about a lot of these national companies is that they're not giving the fresh data. They might find a pre-foreclosure, but it happened 4 years ago or 4 months ago and has already been foreclosed and the deal's done. So we update our off-market data daily with all the new filings. And so we make sure that you always have the freshest current leads. And then our MLS systems are updating hourly. So they're also always very current. So the difference is we're not national yet, but we're working on it. So I'm not sure where you are, Dinah, but if you're in Texas, Florida, or Georgia, we can help you off very soon. If you're somewhere else, it'll be a little more down the road, but keep with us because we'll get there.
Which markets are you looking to get into next?
We are looking at Chicago as I think the next one after Florida and Georgia. New York is in there within the next few months. Colorado, actually the whole tri-state area for New York. Colorado, South Carolina, Nevada. We've got a pretty extensive list. So we're hoping that pretty soon, you know, we're gonna have everything in place and that expansion can happen quickly. We just wanna make sure that we do it right in every market that we go in. So we want to have all our ducks in a row before we actually open it up. We don't want to do it halfway. So when
Yeah,
we get
no,
to it, will be the best.
it's important to be as extensive as you guys are. Like, you know, you're saying your leads are really, you sort them through every day, and that's important because, you know, as someone who prospects every day, you know, you don't want to be calling somebody where it's going nowhere and then, you know, took up all that of your time. So I definitely appreciate that.
Exactly.
Anyone else got any questions for us?
New Jersey is part of the tri-state area, Dinah. So when we, that's in our near future. I couldn't give a time yet, but like I said, join our community. You'll get the information. Join our mailing list, and we'll let you know as soon as we're there. We're also looking for investors. So if you want to help us get to an area sooner by investing in that market, you can get a portion of the revenue from that market as it goes. So if you're interested in that, let me know and we can hook you up for that as well. Anything else? All right, looks like we're about wrapping up. Looks like the questions are ending. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Max, for all the great information. So make sure you join the community. Join Max's webinar coming up.
Love to see you guys there. We're going to talk more about finding properties and fixing and flipping and doing loans and how to leverage yourself, your time, your money to do more with it. So I'm excited to see every one of you guys on our next webinar.
We do have one more question that just came in. So Kathiana is saying, what does she need to become a cash buyer? Well, you either need the cash or you just need to connect with Max. And when he gives you a loan, you become a cash buyer because
Correct.
he gives you the cash you need to buy it with cash.
What we're doing is we're taking your money and we're duplicating it. That's all we're doing. We're multiplying the money that you have today so that you could do more with it, so that you could grow faster and quicker and actually safely. Well, yes, so I appreciate every one of you. Kathina, definitely reach out to me. I'll be glad to tell you more about how you can become a cash buyer, and anyone else who has questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Our email is info@Express Capital Financing. I or one of our highly trained agents will make sure to get right back to you as quickly as possible, making sure that we understand your deal, going through it, making sure you're going to be profitable, giving you a second set of eyes, and giving you a certainty of execution on the terms that we offer. So when we give you an offer, you're going to know that it's going to close with those numbers.
And your phone number information, let me just see if I can go back to that slide.
I think I got it in there.
There's the information again about next week. There you go. Max's number is in the chat. So is my contact information. No, it isn't, because I didn't send it to the right person. Do that again. Oh, yeah, the same thing.
It's there. It's there.
Just for panelists. Now it's there for all attendees for me. So Max, if you want to repost yours, there we go. Oh, Jeff already beat you to it, Max.
Oh, there we go.
I was saying it's there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, you were
okay.
right. We were just too focused. All right, awesome. If there's no more questions, everyone have a wonderful evening. And take care.
Thank you guys so much.